I'm letting this slide for now, all right? Just return home and I'll pretend it didn't happen. What's this guy on about? He's clearly out of touch. It's time to set him straight. My name's Olivia and I'm 32 years old. I've been married to my husband, Mason, for a year. We met at a laid-back gathering thrown by a mutual friend. We clicked instantly, dated like any typical couple, and eventually got married. We're not exactly spring chickens anymore. Mason isn't the most thrilling person, but he brings a sense of calm. That's why I believed we'd last, growing old together side by side. We both have jobs, so money's never been an issue. Our marriage happened without much overthinking. I take care of most household chores since we're both swamped with work. Mason never pitches in. He's either lounging around or leaves early, rarely at home. Still, I never minded the housework. My parents lived the same way, so I figured this was just a wife's life. I work a standard 9 to 5, and I don't have a ton of hobbies. Mason and I were never big talkers. We valued each other's space, and it worked fine. Life rolled on. One evening, Mason came home late, probably after drinks with colleagues or friends. Who knows? I greeted him warmly. "Mason, you're back late. Rough night out. Dinner's ready if you're hungry, but I bet you're not eating this late, right?" He turned, said nothing, and shuffled into the living room, brushing me off. I let out a sigh. Typical. When Mason's in a foul mood, he clams up, so I assumed something at work or during his outing had rubbed him the wrong way. Best to leave him alone. I know not to prod when he's like this. I sensed him in the living room but brushed it off and went to bed. He'd likely be back to normal by morning. Same old routine, no big deal. The next morning, as I fixed breakfast, Mason strolled into the kitchen. "Morning," I said brightly. Mason glanced my way, grabbed some juice from the fridge, and left without a word. His iciness caught me off guard. It wasn't like him. He seemed still upset. I didn't see this coming. We'd always prided ourselves on being strong, millions, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. I decided to wait it out, so I went on preparing lunchboxes for both of us. But things didn't snap back to normal. Mason stayed distant that night and the next day. Now I was worried. Days stretched into weeks, and Mason kept giving me the cold shoulder. I tried messaging him on WhatsApp and leaving notes, but he ignored everything. Yet he ate the meals I made. I saw the empty lunchbox in the sink, so I slipped a note into the cooler bag. I figured a note tucked in with the lunch I lovingly prepared might get a reaction. Nope. Another swing and a miss. Mason stayed silent. Before I knew it, a month had passed in this eerie quiet. I felt powerless. I'd tried everything and nothing worked. Then one evening, I took a bold step. I skipped making dinner on purpose. Normally, I'd cook as soon as I got home. What would Mason, who'd been ghosting me, do if I didn't? I was curious. When Mason got home, I pretended to be engrossed in a TV show in the living room. He walked in, eyed the empty table where dinner usually sat, and then looked at me. Holding my breath, I waited for him to speak, but he just walked off silently. I heard the front door slam shut. I was floored. Why was he ignoring me like this? I had no clue. I sat there, baffled, alone on the couch. The next morning, I woke up and checked the living room. Mason was already gone, off to work so early. Odd. On the living room table was a note. I read it and my jaw dropped. "Stop slacking on your wifely responsibilities," it said, scrawled in sloppy handwriting. Something in me broke. That's it, I'm done. Why should I keep bending over backward for Mason? Is this my life forever? We were never a clingy couple, but this is ridiculous. He's given me no reason for this and no chance to even ask. The suffocating silence in the house for the past month has been unbearable. I scribbled next to his note, "I'm going to my parents' place." I packed my bags quickly and left. My sudden arrival shocked my parents, but after I told them how Mason had stonewalled me for over a month for no clear reason, they got it and welcomed me warmly. It felt nice to be somewhere I could have a normal conversation. For now, I decided to stay put and see how Mason responds before planning my next move. I didn't hear from him the day I left. Knowing him, he probably thinks I'm just making a point and will keep ignoring me. Fine, let's see how long this lasts. Days turned to weeks, and still no call or message from Mason via WhatsApp or anything else. He didn't even show up at my parents' house. 6 months passed, and I'd nearly forgotten about Mason entirely. Then one day, as I stepped out of my parents' house to go shopping, there he was, Mason, standing there with a furious, defiant look. I froze, stunned. He just glared, still silent. Is this game still on? It was almost comical how quiet he stayed. But then he tried to barge into my parents' house without a word. Hold up. I blocked him. Mason shot me a look of anger mixed with disbelief, but still no words. I warned him. "Don't just walk in, I'll call the cops." Finally, after over 6 months, Mason spoke, a smirk curling his lips. Look at you, acting all tough. Staying at your parents' doesn't give you the right to act like that, you know. I remembered Mason being rough around the edges, but not this bad. Lost in thought, I snapped back when Mason exploded. What's wrong with you? You ditched the house for 6 months, living it up at your parents'. Get it together. He ranted, throwing his arms out like he couldn't believe it. Look, I'll let it slide this time, all right? Come home. I'm willing to overlook it for now. His condescending tone grated on me. I shot back calmly. You're confused. We're strangers now, you know. Mason's face went blank, then flushed red with rage. He started shouting. What are you talking about? Have you lost it? We're married, aren't we? Stop playing games. His outburst stunned me momentarily, and he kept yelling. I'm saying I'll forgive you this time, so quit messing around and pack your stuff. My anger surged. He's acting like he's doing me a favor, as if I'm the one who messed up. That infuriated me more. Plus, he seemed clueless about the past 6 months. I finally snapped at Mason, who was still shouting. I got divorce papers from your mom, signed them and filed them with the court. We're not married anymore. Got it. Strangers, total strangers. I stressed the word strangers, and Mason stared, his face paling. He looked genuinely shocked. Here's what went down. A month after I moved to my parents, my then mother-in-law, Helen, asked me to meet at a cafe near our old place. We were never close, and I hadn't seen her in a while. After some small talk, she slid an envelope across the table. What's this? I asked, curious. Open it, even you'll get it, she replied. I opened it and found a divorce petition, signed and stamped by Mason. Confused, I looked at Helen. Her eyes, glaring at me, mirrored Mason's, full of contempt. As I tucked the papers back in, I asked, So this is Mason's doing? Did he say anything to you? Helen sighed dramatically before responding. Oh, he said plenty. Want to hear? I nodded with a smile. Go ahead. She spilled. According to her, Mason had been trashing me, saying I was a lazy, useless wife who stopped doing chores after marriage, quit my job to loaf around, and ran to my parents like a spoiled kid whenever things didn't go my way. Helen's gaze never wavered, clearly buying every lie. No point arguing, I thought. When she finished, Helen asked, So what's your plan? Not to meddle, but you're being pretty terrible, you know. My mind was set as I left that cafe. I smiled and said, If he wants a divorce, he'll get it. Helen shot me a final glare, slapped cash on the table for her share, and stormed out. I went straight to my parents, signed the papers, and filed them with the court the next day. As I explained this, Mason's face grew paler. It seemed Helen never told him, but honestly, I didn't care. I'd trusted her with the signed papers, and Mason must have had the same plan, I figured. When I finished, Mason blurted out, panicked. No, you've got it wrong. I only filled out those papers to get my mom off my case. I never meant to file them. They're not valid. He was frantic, incoherent. And you'll suffer if we divorce, so let's go to the court now and withdraw them. I gave him an icy stare and tilted my head. Why would I suffer if we divorced? Mason grinned like he'd won. Think about your age. Divorced at your age? No one will want you. That's why I'm saying I'll take you back. This is for your sake, got it? We can act like it never happened. You should be thrilled. I rolled next to his arrogance and delusional thinking. We're not kids, you can't just erase a divorce, and by the way, I'm already married to someone else. Mason's jaw hit the floor and he went quiet. What? Seriously? He stammered. Want me to say it again? I'm married to someone else. Mason, disbelieving, started ranting. That's a lie, you're just trying to look cool, huh? Making up stories to get rid of me? That won't work. You're making a fool of me. If he wants to be a fool, that's his issue. As I pondered how to explain it to this clown, someone approached from behind. A man stepped out from the entrance, looking puzzled as he glanced between me and Mason. Mason, startled by this stranger emerging from my parents' house, fell silent. The man looked at me and asked, Everything okay? I smiled awkwardly and turned to Mason. This is my husband, Noah. Noah gave Mason a cautious nod. Mason stepped back, eyeing Noah. It made sense. Noah, a former national rugby player, had a commanding presence. Overwhelmed by Noah's stature, Mason started backpedaling. No, you've got it all wrong. My old boss told me you've been married a year and your wife might get out of line, said I should put her in her place. So I did, and guess what? He got dumped by his wife and kids. What a loser, right? I was just following his advice. I didn't want any of this, Olivia, you get me? I stared at Mason with disgust, sick of his weak excuses. He looked confused, probably because I wasn't reacting how he expected. Then Noah spoke up. Sorry, but you need to leave now and never come back. If you approach Olivia again, I'm calling the police. With that, Noah firmly pushed Mason out the doorway. Intimidated by Noah's strength and resolve, Mason bolted. For a while, we stayed cautious, worried Mason might hold a grudge and do something rash. But weeks passed and he was gone. Curiosity got me one day, so I called a mutual friend to ask about Mason. We caught up on light stuff, but when I brought up Mason, she sighed and spilled the tea. Shockingly, Mason quit his job days after showing up at my parents' place. Why? Turns out Mason always backed his boss, who harassed subordinates. It blew up at the company. The boss was resigned, sent to some obscure rural outpost. Mason was set to be transferred too, but he quit out of pride. According to our friend, he's still unemployed. His arrogance tanks his job hunt. He even skips interviews when recruiters reach out. Plus, his mom disowned him after hearing he quit, thanks to her own intense personality. Our friend said he blames his old boss and just drinks his days away. At this rate, he'll wreck his health before landing a job. What a mess. I hope he finds a new partner or something, but that's a long shot. We laughed as we ended the call. Mason stuck jobless and drowning his sorrows. Thanks to him, I'm now living peacefully with Noah. Funny enough, Noah was my coworker. After hearing about my divorce, he pursued me eagerly. We started dating 6 months after the divorce, which made me hesitant at first, but his confidence and kindness won me over. After we married, Noah admitted he'd always had a crush on me and was crushed when I married Mason. I laughed and apologized for missing his feelings back then. Noah helps with chores, something I used to do alone. When we eat together, he always compliments the food with a grin. These small moments make me so happy, something I never saw coming. Growing up with traditional parents, I was probably numb to it all. Now, I'm living a vibrant married life with Noah, who finds joy in the simplest things. I'm certain that with him, I'll have a joyful life into our golden years. And that's a promise.